How many characters does the average Chinese person know? I just really want to add that there's classical Chinese, which is way more concise, and therefore complicated, in both grammar and characters. This is why in the past Chinese people used to study for like 10 years before they could actually write poems or articles. The current Chinese is less concise and grammatically more similar to Oral Chinese, and the characters are simplified in mainland China to make the language more accessible to people. No recent Chinese literature is all in modern Chinese, and many novels in the past, like four classics, are somewhere in the middle. You can't deny that the most valuable parts of Chinese literature in the past, such as historical texts, poems, and essays, were all written in classical Chinese. If you go a bit more in depth of the Chinese language and literature, those things are there and will always be there to study. The question asks for average Chinese people. Classical Chinese is an important part of middle school and high school Chinese syllabus, and every Chinese high school graduate should know it to some extent. In that you can safely add another 1,000 to 2,000 words to the average words one needs to know. 3,500 words, in my opinion, are really the minimum requirement. From my experience in high school, I would say that'd be someone who barely passes Chinese tests, never read the four classics, which were compulsory outside reading in my high school, and don't fully understand the classical Chinese texts in textbooks. Just another interesting minor point, Chinese people like to hint more than write something out straightforward. In the past there's a commonly used technique, especially in poems, called where you hint about another event/poem, and only people who know those things can decode the meaning behind the words. So the fact that you know the words doesn't necessarily mean you understand the text. Most of the time I read poems with explanatory notes about the background and techniques like. This is still present, but relatively more straightforward in modern Chinese. And then there are many references to cultural stuff and ancient beliefs. All above points are just my understanding of the language. Please correct me if I'm wrong, smiley face.